Hello, it's Leslie here. So today I wanted to talk about why I'm learning Russian because it's the question that most people ask me, like why are you learning Russian out of all the languages? What made you choose Russian? So what started to get me into Russian was a couple of things. Well, first off, you always get Russian spies and things in James Bond movies, so that's one reason. It was always very mysterious, and when I was growing up in the 80s and even the early 90s, um, there was the Iron Curtain in the 80s, so we didn't know too much about Russia. And a bit like North Korea is now, that's how it was back then. And that's the way it seems to be going now in the future as well. So, so there was always this great unknown. What's Russia doing? What do the Russians think? And so that's one reason. I was always very curious about, the Soviet Union. And, as I said, there was the spy thing. But what really started to get me intrigued more was I read this Carl Sagan book, and he talked about the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, and he mentioned that American allies, NATO, I'm not sure if it was NATO then, but American allies had already missiles in Turkey pointed at the Soviet Union. Well, that's, you know, maybe not literally pointed, but that was the idea. So they already had, the West already had missiles within range of Russia. So that's one of the reasons why Russians put their missiles in Cuba. So I started to take Russia's side, if you like. I started to think, well, let's think about this from a Russian perspective. What would they like? Would they like it? And you could say the same thing now about this whole war in Ukraine. Although I absolutely am totally against this war, you can kind of understand Putin in a way because NATO has encroached him. And if you were living in Russia, you'd think, hang on a minute, Latvia and all these countries and Bulgaria always used to belong to the Soviet Union. Now they're on the other side, and there's this whole threat of the West. So, so that's the main reason. Then I actually went to trying to think about it from their perspective, in other words, right? And the other side. No, I'm not anti-Western, but just thinking of it, and I'm not a communist either, by the way, but just thinking about it from the other perspective. When the boot's on the other foot, how would you like it? And so I went to Russia in 2000. I was massively underprepared. I didn't speak any Russian, so I got a crash course in Russian on the way to the train station, like 5 minutes worth, and I really got culture shock there. It left a big impression on me. It was the year 2000, so it wasn't really that long after the fall of the Soviet Union, and it just definitely wasn't touristy at all. So, for example, there weren't any English announcements or any English signs anywhere. And so that's one of the places, I went around the whole world, right? That's one of the places that had the most impact on me, that it really felt like I was on another world, really, like almost a bizarro world, where there's all these white people, Caucasian people, speaking this weird language. It sounds like back to front something or other. It sounds very odd. And so I thought, well, yeah, I just got culture shock. And so I started to learn the alphabet. And then I went to Russia again in 2005 to St. Petersburg, which is like the two most known places. Now if I went again, I would go somewhere else. I wouldn't go to the main cities. I'd go somewhere else. Uh, but anyway, one of the things is trying to say I was very underprepared, and that feeling of culture shock just really got to me, and I felt very stressed out and everything. So I didn't make a commitment to learn the whole language, but I thought I'm going to try, and I tried. I've probably mentioned in other videos. I tried. I bought this book. This is the very book that I bought, and I had a look in there and promptly gave up because the words were too long. So, but you know, um, I went to live in Spain for a while and I learnt the Spanish language. So I thought, after I came back, I thought, well, maybe I'll have a go at Russian again. And so that's what I've done. And yeah, it's been very good, but mainly I want to understand Russian people better. And so I'm going to definitely continue to learn Russian. I have listened to a lot more Russian in the last few weeks, trying to understand what's going on. The other place I felt culture shock about in as well was Japan. Those are the two places that I felt most culture shock. And because of that, I would rather spend hundreds of hours learning the language than experiencing that culture shock if I ever go back there again. But anyway, in the case of Russia, so it's one thing trying to understand their logic, and also I'd like to be able to have a conversation with Russian people, particularly Russian people that lived during the Soviet Union, and I'd like to be able to understand their answer. So that's why I'm trying very hard at the moment with my vocabulary to learn it. I was listening to Russian news, Channel Rain, before they voluntarily closed. So I'm getting quite good at it, but those are the main reasons why. There's lots of other little things as well, but I guess it's kind of very... I like these videos to be unscripted, so sometimes I blab on and it's not scripted, but I think it's more natural to speak this way, not having a script. So this is just the way I do it. The other thing I say, when I was in Moscow, for example, the lady at the reception gave me this piece of paper. And I remember that I said I'd learnt the Russian alphabet. So she gave me this piece of paper, and it had written on it something like MAD or something. And I tried to read it out, and it was like, oh, that's his mag or something. And she said, no, that's a T. And I said, no, it's not. That's an M. And she said, no, it's not. That's a T. And so we just had to agree to disagree. And I went, okay, whatever you say. So then I found out later, of course, that the lowercase letters are very different to what they are. The handwritten ones, the italics, are very different to what they are. And it just added to the mystery of it. Like a lowercase m is actually a T. And things like that I thought were very, very odd. And just the letters being all back to front, physically back to front, like the E, the letter N is back, like the English letter N looks like it's a back to front N and things like that. So anyway, that's why I learned. That's all I really have time for today to say. So thanks for watching. Bye.